Welcome to Matt Bajerski YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about doing nothing. Is it spiritually wrong? And it's a great topic. It's been something that I've witnessed and observed over these 2 years, a little bit longer as well. More than any other time in my life. I'm 54 years old now, so let's break it down and let's cover all bases. So there are certain ways I try to come across and share with you my information. And what I try and do is simplify it so it's easy to see. So let's take this version of doing nothing. Now, before we do, first of all, every action has a reaction. So when you choose to do nothing, same as a very famous celebrity or a very famous doctor or somebody high in the fame where they have a lot of people who admire them and watch them and just wait to listen to what they've got to say. When they do nothing, they've actually not done nothing. They've not spoken their truth about what they've seen, which is dark and demonic and evil and dangerous. What they chose to do is do something, and that is not say anything. So they've actually chosen a side, and there's reasons for that, because sometimes these people are actually caught up in the very same energy as darkness. So when we often come out and say they're not saying anything, they've said everything. They've told us everything who they are, and they've chosen the side of doing nothing, which is actually doing something very powerful. It creates more of the negativity and more of the issues, and it takes longer to heal the situation and the world. So imagine yourself sat with a friend and you're just observing a shop, and the shop says ice cream. And all of a sudden you see a mum and two children walk into the shop, smiling and happy, dancing and skipping. And as they come out, they're happy and they're licking their ice creams, all three of them. Mum now falls down having some kind of seizure, and the two children fall down too. They're on the floor, they're not getting up. You observe this, and then all of a sudden an ambulance comes and puts the children in, and you walk over and say, what just happened there? And a man comes over who's a policeman and says, look, there's nothing to see here. Move along, nothing to see, move along. Okay. So you go back and you sit down and you continue talking to your friends, saying that was strange. 15 minutes later, you see another little child and the father happily walking along, going into this ice cream shop. They come out eating the ice cream, and the father again falls down on the floor, starts having an heart attack, and the little boy starts foaming from the mouth. And all of a sudden you get up and you think, okay, this has happened twice. What have they all eaten? They've all eaten an ice cream. So you walk over, but now there's a policeman saying, move along, and you're saying, but people are eating that ice cream and they're falling over. No, it's not the ice cream. But it is the ice cream, because they've just had the ice cream. They've all had the same thing and they're falling over. No, stop it. Don't say that. Move along or else you're in trouble. Okay? So you go now and sit down and you see people coming towards the ice cream parlour. Now, here's where the choice comes. Do you get up and go to these people and say to them, excuse me, we've just seen two families go into there and have an ice cream, and they come out and they fell over. One had a heart attack and the children were like foaming from the mouth. And then an ambulance came and put them in and drove off. Or do you sit there and say nothing? Do you sit there and I pray that everything will be fine? Okay, so there's your options. You either do nothing or you claim to be spiritual, and the prayers are obviously very important, but you don't do anything. You don't take action. Your eyes saw what they saw. You heard what you heard from the policeman and the fire, and the ambulance. But you know, deep inside, you know. You have a choice again. You choose your emotions and your feelings and your sense and your intuition. You choose whether you follow that or whether you put it inside and you leave it and walk away. Anybody with a heart who is connected to their physical body, so the heart is the spirit, is who you are, not the physical body. That's just a piece of meat that's only here for a short while, but the spirit, who you are, that never dies, is constantly talking to your brain and saying, hey, we've just seen something and it's not right. Something feels wrong. These people are falling down. We need to do something. We need to take action. So the mind sometimes blocks the heart, which means that the spacesuit speaks louder than the heart, the spirit. So the brain is far more powerful than the heart, and the brain says, shut up, we're not doing anything. Let's not rock any boats. Let's let somebody else deal with it. Okay. At that point, there is another energy, and that energy that can be suppressed causes great illness, and that's called guilt. So when you know you should do something because, well, out of 8 billion people, if you believe that, in the world, you are the one to sit with somebody else and see what's going on. So there's a reason why you're here. So what is that reason? Is my reason to stand up and take action and be brave and to be truthful and say to the police officer, I'm sorry, police officer, but you are wrong, and I am going to stand right here and tell everybody who's going into that ice cream parlor, be careful because people are falling down. That is fact. You can't tell me that I can't say that, because you are then becoming a criminal. You're a gangster. You are hiding the truth. You should be put in prison. You should go. You are dangerous and dark. Now I ask you, what would you do? If you now see two beautiful, let's step it up a bit, because most people just don't get it sometimes, but let's step it up. You're sat there and all of a sudden you see your child or your best friend's child and their dad or whoever who is close to you, really close to you, and they're skipping along happy, about to go into there. Would you say something now? The chances are you probably would. So there's something in that energy where you are more forced to do something because it's your family, but yet total strangers, most people would just ignore it. That I don't understand. I can only come to the terms of that as that the spirit that resides within the person who doesn't feel the same is not of the same spirit world as me. I don't get it. However, there are many people like that. So the people who are praying, okay, that's, in my humble opinion, an excuse, because they're frightened to take action. There's no bravery inside their heart anymore because they've lost the disconnect to their heart and that bravery. So they just sit there, and sure enough, 2 more people go in and they come out and they fall down. Now at this point, this person who sat here watching this decides it's too much, and their action is going to change the course of their whole life being on this planet. They get up and they walk away, and they choose not to do anything, which is a choice equal to doing something. They walk away, and for the rest of their life, inside, it eats away. And this is the truth. This happens all the time, guys. And that guilt, that feeling of not doing anything, continues to eat away till eventually that particular place, wherever it is, it could be behind the heart, it could be somewhere on the body, where it could be the mind, all of a sudden dis-ease enters that particular part and normally causes death or the moving back into our world. So actually, when we choose to ignore something that needs to be dealt with, it actually causes an effect on a physical level to our body, and normally is an extremely dangerous one. So now you've chosen not to do it, you found out you've got cancer, and you've got a few weeks to live. At that particular point of your last breath, what happens then is, as you move back into the spirit world, there could be a huge chance that you don't step through into the doorway of our spirit world, that veil between the two worlds. Why? Well, I've said this before many times. If you've ever done something wrong at school, or when you're out and the school teacher sent a message to your mum and dad, you're about to walk through that door knowing that the teacher's rung up home and said you've been a really bad boy or a bad girl. How does it feel walking through that door? Do you actually want to walk through that door? Do you dare walk through that door? It's the same thing as the spirit world. The guilt that resides within us in the mind, and that suffering that you went through is still a physical thing just before you move into the spirit world. And that feeling is, I'm not going to go through that door, because the guilt of what could happen. And because of the church saying that we're all sinners, and that if we do something wrong we'll burn in hell, that also is something that sticks in people's minds just before they move back into the world. So sometimes they'll not step through that doorway, and they'll be trapped in between two worlds, which is something that I used to do as a healer. I used to help spirit trapped in between two worlds. And it was always guilt. It was always things that happen. I mean, there was shock energy as well. People done something so terrible to you that just happened there and then. But predominantly, when you're ready to move into the light after disease, that's normally what happens. The other thing is, if you are able to step through and walk through the veil, when all of that physical body has disappeared and you are of light and love and everything is fine, because it always is, you look at your life, you look at the life that you led. It might have been 50 years, it might be 10 years, it might be 100 years, but at that point, as a beautiful light that you are, part of the ocean, there's only one person who judges you, and that's yourself. Who knows you better than you? So you will judge yourself on what you did, what you didn't do. And that's a big thing. So if you were sat on that seat and you chose not to do anything, not to say anything, then that is a clear indication that we end up kind of smiling and thinking, I have to go back again. I believe part of everybody's journey, and each time you come, is because you have to conquer fear. You have to conquer evil. You have to be stronger than darkness. And by sitting in that seat, watching and not doing or saying anything and walking away, is a sure sign that you weren't a warrior of the light that you came here to be. That you didn't make the difference in this world, because making a difference in this world is shining your light of truth. That is my truth today. The consequences are our own. They're our own. So it isn't good or bad. It just means that we come back again to learn it all again. So when you see the superstars, the Hollywood stars, saying nothing and doing nothing, now you know exactly what happens. It's food for thought. Have a beautiful day. Take care, guys.